I need you just so I can breathe. Now I can breathe. Hey, I can breathe. I can breathe.
Welcome to iRiS Inspires. I'm your host, iRiS the Dream Whisperer. I am excited about today's show because we are going to have an opportunity to introduce to you the recipients of our Caregivers Dream. But before we do that, I want to make sure we stay true to our breath and breathing. So I'm going to ask everybody, take a deep breath, because if you had a day like mine, you've been in some traffic, and perhaps you've just been challenged, I want you to take a deep inhale because it reminds us who and whom's we are. Come on, inhale. Yes, and hold it, and exhale. Yes, it is that breath that was given to us by the Creator of all life to remind us that we are uniquely created in the image of God and after His likeness. That means that we are not any junk. That means that we're divinely created to create divinely. Come on, take another deep breath. Inhale and exhale. Yes. Well, as I said to you, we have our Caregivers Dream program today, and as you see, we have two beautiful women that are sitting here with me today. We have had a total of 4 recipients, but we're going to introduce you to 2 of them today. We are very excited about how the process of choosing them and having them here and hearing their stories, and we're going to give them an opportunity to talk and share, and we're going to talk about the life of a caregiver and how to take care of ourselves, and then we have some special gifts and things that they don't know about that they're going to be receiving. How about that? That sound good?
Yes, it does.
All righty.
Does.
Okay, first of all, let me just say this. Many times when we think of family caregivers, we tend to think of women. And statistics are showing that not only women are caregivers, men are caregivers. Unfortunately, in this particular campaign, we didn't receive any men recipients for the Caregivers Dream. So hopefully the next time we do it, we will. But statistics is showing that the face of American caregivers is changing rapidly. According to the Breaking Stereotype Spotlight on Male Family Caregivers, a recent report from the AARP says just 38 years ago, just 34% of caregivers surveyed were men. So it's not just women, although we take the bulk of it, but it's not just women, men as well. And today it is saying a whopping 40% of the 40 million Americans caring for loved ones are male. So the tide is changing, and a lot of it is because we have to do what we have to do to make sure we're taking care of those that we love. And so we get in where we fit in and we make it happen, is the bottom line to the story. Culturally, it states that African American, Hispanic, Samoan, Middle Eastern, and indigenous cultures have a tendency to care for our elderly and sick and our children in our homes versus putting them in a home. We have a tendency to take care of them in our home, right? Would you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Yes. What I know for sure, whether you are male or whether you are female, caring for our loved ones can be a challenge to us individually and on our family. It can take a toll on us, and that simply means because we give of ourselves entirely. And when they're in our home, when our family and loved ones are in our home, we give around the clock all the time, no matter what the challenge is. And so today we wanted to honor caregivers. We wanted to acknowledge them, and we wanted to also be a source of inspiration. I told you that when we started this program, we wanted to make sure that we are inspiring the listener for hope, and knowing that whatever the desire, the dream is, that it's possible, and that there's nothing too hard and nothing impossible because you have the breath of God in you. Okay? Amen. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I have, like I said, two caregivers with me. I have, you want me to call you Ruth or Ruthie?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I'm going to call her. We have Miss Ruth Haggerty. We have Ms. Ruth Haggerty, and then we have Dr. Erling Gentry here with us. And let me tell you, their stories are dynamic in terms of the challenge, or not the challenge, but the road that they have traveled in caring for their loved ones. I believe that your story touched us in such a unique way. Tell us a little bit about what it is that you are dealing with as you're caring for your loved ones. Who are you caring for?
Well, right now I'm caring for my dad. He has dementia. He's 83 years old. He's a ball of energy. I'm doing a little bit of everything. He just, in fact, in the past month, his dementia has actually progressed a great deal. He used to tie his shoes, put them on. He cannot figure out what shoe goes on what foot now. I mean, I'm actually doing everything from start to finish. So at the end of the day, I'll put it like this. My dad is 83 years old. I've had him for 83 years, and I love him dearly. But my heart does ache to watch how he's just declining in front of me, and there's nothing I can do about it. But I still thank God for having the chance to change his diapers, to bathe him from start. I mean,
yes, to do whatever, to do all that is necessary.
Lord,
yes.
do I have to do this too? Come on. But this is part of being a caregiver, and that's my dad.
Yes.
So yeah, it's challenging. It's new. Some of it is frightening. It's scary.
Yes.
And it's tiresome.
Yes, and you know, one of the things you stated that in your story that you need a break. How do you get to the place of taking care? Do you take care of yourself in any shape, form, or fashion in terms of taking a break and rejuvenating yourself?
You know what I do? Like in the morning, the first thing I do is I get on my knees and I pray to God. I read my Bible, and then I immediately go straight to the showers. I really don't even have time to take a bath anymore. I just jump in the shower, and I spray on a little something, cologne, just to get me through the day. And then after that, it's on and popping because my dad is up and waiting. So I've got like maybe 2 minutes to jump in the shower, a minute to brush my teeth, and then after that, he is full of energy. So that's how my day it begins.
Okay. Dr. Erling, what is, you had a unique story. Someone submitted your name, and they talked about how she has cared for different family members throughout the years. And I believe recently her mother and her father transitioned. Is that correct?
My husband and my mother transitioned, and it was really hard because caring for both of them was a blessing, actually, because I think that by God giving me this opportunity to know that I took my vows to heart.
Right.
A lot of times you'll find that when a spouse gets sick, sometimes that's what breaks up a family.
Yes.
But through the thick and the thin of it, I was there from beginning to end. Like I was sharing with Ruth and the other ladies earlier, I was just telling them how I always felt that I would live with my husband for the rest of my life. And God reminded me as he spoke to me gently, telling me, you may not have lived with him for the rest of your life, but he lived with you for the rest of his life. Yes. And that's what the blessing in all of that was, is that my prayer was to be able to care for him and care for my mother, care for my daughter now who's been diagnosed with schizophrenia, and to see that I'm still here.
You know, that's powerful. One of the things that we was in the green room waiting to start the show, and one of the things that came up is why did I choose a caregiver's dream, and how did this become a topic? And I was sharing with the ladies that, in taking care of my mother, and we also took care of, the family also took care of my grandmother, particularly after my mother. I didn't realize how tired and exhausted I was until I had moved from Las Vegas back to California. Well, actually, I hadn't moved back there. I was visiting in California and visited with my grandmother and laid in the floor and literally laid in the floor from the time I got there to the following day. And at that time, she looked at me and said, "Baby, it is okay to rest now." And I slept from the time I stepped foot in her house to the following day.
Wow.
In the living room floor, they had just laid some cover over me. And I had no idea how exhausted
Yes. Yeah.
I was. Because we give entirely, without question. And it's something about that adrenaline that kicks in.
Yes.
Yeah, it does. It
Yes.
really does. It really
Yes.
does.
And it's something
Yes.
about when we know we have to do it, we don't have time to say we're sick, we're tired, and don't feel like it and don't want to do it. We may not want to do it, and we may be tired, and we may not be feeling well, but guess what we're going to do?
It has to be
It
done.
has to be done.
We're going to make sure it's taken care of, right?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and in that process, what happens is we wear ourselves down. We don't take care of ourselves. What is the first thing that they tell you to do in an airplane? You've taken some airplane rides, right? What is the first thing they tell you in an emergency? What are you supposed to do?
You're supposed to put on that thing, you know, so you can breathe, and you're supposed to make sure you're buckled in and all of that. And when that thing drops, you got to be able to put it over your
Put
face.
that mask over your own
Yourself
face
First, you follow instructions.
before you can
first.
save even the child that may be
You
in your
first.
lap,
You're supposed to-
sitting right next to you.
Yes.
And so that's what I wanted to make sure today, that these ladies and that caregivers all over the world understand how important it is to take care of self. Because if you don't have you, they said, we was talking in the green room saying how they're finding that caregivers are leaving this earth before the people that they're taking care of. And you know why that is?
They don't take care of it.
Because we forget to take care of
We
ourselves.
forget to take care of ourselves. Health and well-being is the most effective way in taking care of ourselves. When we are sleep deprived, we have poor eating habits. We grab the first thing there, cook, candy, chocolate, coffee. Oh, y'all know about that?
Yes.
Because we get that quick fix, that quick jolt, cup of coffee, a Coke, a soda, failure to exercise. We're not moving.
Wow.
Someone, isn't that something?
I am. I'm guilty of that. That's bad.
Yes,
That's
we're not
bad.
moving.
Not moving,
Yeah.
hip spreading.
And hip
Yeah.
spreading. I told them after I had my child, I came down. I came down pretty good. But when I sat in the hospital for almost 2 months with my
See.
mother, and I tell you, I did not move. And it was after that I noticed I had a little pouch. I'm like, where'd that come from? Hello. But I had been sitting
Yeah.
stationary
Right.
and eating quick food and drinking coffee and snacks, and that stuff, it wears on our physical body.
Yes.
Sure does.
And then failure to stay in bed when ill, when you're not feeling well.
But you can't.
That can't work.
I can't.
Can't. Don't have,
I
yeah.
can't.
You can't do
I
that.
just, I can't. I
No.
can't. Everybody, they need me. I
So
need it.
okay, so we're going to talk about
Just have to
what
pray
are
about
some
it,
of
keep
the
it moving.
things we
Yeah.
can do when we don't see a way out to take care of self when we're taking care of our loved ones. Because it is important. It says postponement of or failure to make medical appointments for yourself. Going to the doctor for checkups, mammograms,
Oopsies.
all those things that, you know, we just say, oh, we'll do it next time. We don't have, I can't.
I can't.
We use that I can't word. I would submit to you that if we don't start doing it, you won't have a choice. And then what? Just breathe on that one. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe it. Come on, take another. The deeper. And exhale.
This
It
is
is
serious.
so. Yeah, it's very
This is serious.
serious.
It is.
It's very serious. It's imperative, you know, that we take care of ourselves. I'm on a Christian network. However, I like to make it real plain and simple for anybody that's listening. Many times, even church folks, we are the worst
Yes.
at taking care of
Yes.
ourselves. We say we praying about
Yes.
it, I'm trusting God, believing God, and not doing anything, using
Yes.
any of the tools He's given us
Okay,
in this
Lord.
earth to take care of ourselves. So I want to be that voice of reckoning to remind you it is time
Thank
to
you.
take care of
Thank
self.
you.
You've got to do. If it's no more than kicking your feet up, all right, and just having some 30-minute me time in the day, you must have that time. Period. If you got to get up a little earlier, or lay down a little later, making sure that you're making your doctor's appointments. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Okay. So, the other thing they say that is really what happens is depression.
Yeah.
Now, we don't like to talk about depression, and church folks definitely don't like to talk about depression.
Yes.
And African American community refuses to talk about the depression.
Yes.
And there's a whole lot of other communities don't like to deal with depression because we think of it as something that we should be able to handle. And if you trust and believe God, why are you in depression?
Hello.
What is the problem? Now, there are different kinds of depression.
Yes.
There's exhaustion.
Yes.
That's
And
why.
you find yourself overwhelmed,
Yes.
right? And then there is clinical, which is something totally different, right?
Right.
And then there is that spirit of constant want and need, and you're constantly feeling like it's out there somewhere, and you're not able to reach it and attain it. So you go into that feeling of depression that it's not for me. Am I ever going to live my life? Am I ever going to have some of the things that I want and desire? But what I want to submit to you ladies, okay? Yeah, take a deep breath. I saw that.
I know. She's talking to me, Lord.
Yes, take a deep breath. Yes, and let it go.
Yes.
That's where the book Breathe came out. The book Breathe was birthed out of after my mother transitioned. Okay. And looking at all of the challenges I had to face, and quite frankly, I was a little disappointed with the fact that she wasn't still here because I was trusting God for her to be here. And it didn't work out like that. Okay. So dealing with that process, right, of grief, of disappointment, of being overwhelmed, and still have to deal with life. What do we do? After you pray and you still feel like you haven't gotten a breakthrough. You want to talk about that one? Huh?
Wow.
Breathe. Just didn't turn out like you thought. What do you do? I submit to you, the audience, and to the ladies here in the audience, that it is imperative that we get real honest with self.
Yes. Yes.
You got to get honest.
Yes.
My mama used to say it's bad when you start lying to yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
got to get honest.
Yes.
Okay? We can't use, the Bible is a good source of strength. The Word is a source of strength, but don't confuse that with fear. Pretending like you in faith.
Come on.
That's good. That's good.
Don't want to deal with it.
Common sense.
Yeah. All right?
Common sense. Really.
So today we wanted to just talk about that. One of the things we talked about in the green room was the overwhelming feelings, right? Come on, the overwhelming.
Oh yeah, because there was a time when my mom would be sick and my husband was something wrong with him at the same time. So I'm going from room to room trying to care for both of them. And sometimes I would tell my husband, "I'll be back. I gotta go check on my mom."
Wow.
And he would forget that I said I would be back, and I could hear him calling, Earlene.
Wow.
And then I would get frustrated because I felt like, in a lot of ways, I was cheating him out of time that I could have been spending with him, but then I had my mother too, so I had to divide that time and then come to grips with myself that it is what it is. And I just had to keep working at it until I said, okay, honey, I'll be there in a minute.
I've heard that word guilt come up a couple times today.
Yeah.
How do we deal with guilt?
Well, you know what? I'm going to put it like this. Like, for instance, when my dad first came, the problem I had was my husband and having my dad come live with us. Because sometimes being a caregiver really can take its toll on a marriage between the husband and or the wife. I've seen it go both ways. And in some cases, if you don't watch out, it will tear a marriage up. And so I had a problem with we kind of worked it out. My husband finally realized that, okay, this is my wife's dad, and I have to step back. But there's still that jealousy that I have to deal with. So I'm like torn between two men.
Right.
My husband and my dad. I'm like, okay, Lord. and I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. When you know this is what you're supposed to be doing, but you still have to come up against opposition, it is so hard. And the only thing I do is say, okay, Lord, take the wheel. Help me to get through this with my dad and my husband. But at this point, I've had my dad almost 3 years, and the Lord has made it sweet. I didn't see when it happened, but it did happen. But I still kind of cried, trying to get through it.
Yes.
But now it's so peaceful, and my husband is helping me with my dad.
Well, you know, there was I think it was Tyler Prairie said in one of his, don't ask me which one it was or is, but He said in one of his movies, I believe it was, that there are seasons in our relationships.
Yes.
And if we can get through the seasons of taking
Yes.
care of our elderly, our family, our mothers, our fathers, our grandfathers, our grandparents, our aunts, our uncles, if we can get through those seasons of challenge when it's a little tight. And you know, the other thing, because there are seasons, and we can get on the same page
Yes.
and get a support system,
Yes.
right, to come
There
in.
we go.
And
Yes.
you can have maybe a date night. If you can't have a date night every week, maybe once a month,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Maybe a date even once a quarter is better than not at all.
Yes.
That's an option, right?
Well,
That's another. Go
my
ahead.
husband and I, we have our Tuesday and Wednesdays is off day.
Okay.
Because he works at night. But our dates is Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We go out for breakfast.
See there?
We go out for breakfast, we hold hands, we talk, we fight, we
There
do
it
all
is.
those things, and then come nighttime, we always go to bed, and my dad is right there. So, and that's true. It helps refresh our marriage every day, and our commitment to both he and I, and then my commitment to my dad. So
And
you're
it's a
right.
rejuvenation. It gives you that
Yes,
little
it
extra
is.
so you can
Yes,
do
it
what you
is.
with you.
Yes, it
It's a
is.
support system.
Yes,
Good.
it is.
So it's a reminder to you, though. You said you have no me time. You have you and him time.
We hold hands.
So
we
that's
hold
good.
hands.
You see what I'm saying?
We walk
You
down
got to
the
recognize
street.
what you do have.
You know what? And sometimes I don't see that until somebody reminds me. So
Yeah.
thank you too. I'm sorry.
That's perfectly okay, girl.
So see?
Thank you.
Yeah, see? And that's wonderful.
That's what this is all
wonderful.
about. This is why I wanted to have this dialogue, because we get help from each other.
Yes.
That's it.
That's
Yes.
the support system.
Yes.
There are a couple of groups that I reached out to, and unfortunately at this time they weren't able to be with us today. However, they're going to. I have their websites and their names. Their support groups, and I want to make sure I hand that over to you. And I want to
Okay.
give it to the listening audience. And one is a place for caregivers. You know, it's not a whole lot. As a matter of fact, it's hard to find a lot of organizations and groups, but it's called a place for a caregiver support group, and they offer private and a public forum. The founder is LaPortia Bernardo, and I may have botched that. Forgive me. But it's a place for caregivers.org, and they're also on Facebook. Again, a place for caregivers. I'll make sure that I have that on my website. And then another is the Caregivers Depot, and Fight the Memory Thief with founder Terry Anderson. And so dementia and Alzheimer's seems to be really running prevalent
Yes.
in our communities and with our elderly and even with some young people, I'm finding out. Actually, in our next, one of our recipients, as a matter of fact, is going to share her story, how when she found out her husband at a young age was diagnosed with dementia.
Yes.
So we need to have support groups to know that we're not in this by ourselves.
Ourselves. Feels like it, but yes.
It may feel like it sometimes.
Feels like
And this is what I want to say. It is okay to cry.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
okay to cry.
Yes.
It's okay to feel like there's not enough help, because sometimes there isn't. It's okay. And it's okay to tell God about it.
Yes.
It is okay. We don't have to be
Absolutely.
superwomen. It's okay to feel weak.
Yeah.
It's okay to even feel inadequate. That's one.
Yeah.
Because we're not supposed to feel that. Right?
Yes.
But then when we take that big, deep inhale, yes, and exhale, I cannot ever do that and not be reminded.
Feel good.
It's like goose
Yeah,
pimples
yeah,
pop
yeah.
up, right?
Yes.
That breath that has been given to me
Yes.
reminds me that I am the very essence of God in the earth. And then I call on my strength
That's true.
Yeah.
and I get renewed. How about you?
I do,
you,
I do,
Lord.
and that's
I
where
need
my
that.
strength come from. That's where it comes
It
from.
comes from the Creator who created you and I. Each uniquely in His image. That's a bad somebody. We all individually look different. And we may have a different bloodline, but we are uniquely in the image of God. Ooh-wee. That's an awesome God. So with that said, we are just about at the end of our broadcast, and I want to let the audience know that we have graced these women. We have a gift bag for them. And in that gift bag, we want to make sure you go to dinner.
Yes.
You're going to make sure you go to a movie.
Wow.
You're going to make sure you go get a massage. And
Wow,
facial.
look at God. Look at
You got
God.
some home things at the house that you can use to take a bath and aromatherapy. I want you to know you're loved and you are appreciated.
Thank you so much, iRiS.
You're loved and you're appreciated.
Thank you so
I want
much.
you to know that. And then on January the 5th of 2018, we have stylist Aisha Marshall. She's going to be coming in town, and she's going to be taking care of these women and giving them some makeovers. That's right. We want you to know that you are appreciated.
okay?
And then I also want to remind you, don't be afraid to ask for what you want. It's okay, you're right. Don't be afraid to ask for what you want. This lady right here says she want a horseback ride.
I did say that.
She did. And guess what she's going to get? She's going to get a horseback ride. All right. All righty. So I want to say thank you for spending this
Thank
time
you,
with
God.
us.
Yes,
Thank you,
yes.
audience, for
Yes.
listening in. This
Thank
has been
you,
a pleasure.
thank you.
I want you to remind you.
Thank you.
Oh, let me not forget, you're going to also get my books, every last single one of them, except for the latest one, Breathe. And you also get the audio version. You have access to the audio version of Breathe. And then we have Not This Time and You Again. There's also in their gift bag. I want to thank you for tuning in and sharing with us. Remember to love on your caregivers. Remember to give them an hour or two. Just call them up and say, hey, look, I'm going to just give you an hour or two off to go so you can go take care of yourself. So you can just ride out to the beach and breathe. Remember, the God has not given you the spirit of fear. You don't have to choose from that space. But of power, the Holy Spirit. Of love, what are you committed to? And sound mind.
Amazing. God
You
is so
make good
amazing.
decisions. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.
So amazing. So amazing.
Yes. Yes.
I need you just so I can breathe. Now I can breathe.